What's going on, everybody? Jordan here. Today I've got the lovely Miss Kylie. Kylie, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Looks like you're there on vacation, living the good life.
Yes. Yes. Spring
I love
break
it.
in Key West.
Awesome. Is it just you? You got the family there, or?
No, my whole family's here.
I love it. Well, that's awesome. I'm sure we can talk a lot about travel, time, financial freedom today. I think it's awesome that you're out and about right now, able to be here. I
Yes.
appreciate you taking the
Yes.
time out on your vacation to help the community.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
um, I'm super excited to dive in. So, guys, if you guys are here on the interview right now, type a hashtag live or hashtag replay down below in the chat so we can see who's here. Kylie, Katie, and myself are going to be looking at your comments and everything. And today we're going to be talking about how Kylie, I just asked you before this. I was almost mind blown when you said it. Kylie, you've been in the industry for over, you said since 2000, so
Yes.
24 years
Yep.
of being in the industry.
Yes.
And you started out as a solo hairstylist, correct?
Yes. Yes, I
Awesome.
did. Mhm.
And you were able to go from solo to owner to now creating, I mean, we could talk a lot about what you're working on now, but I would say created a great amount of time and financial freedom for you and your family in the salon and spa world. And
Yes.
you said to date, one of your best months at your salon was $189,000 in 1 month. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. Correct.
I love it. Well, today we're going to be talking about all the ins and outs, what you learned along the way, and hopefully provide some value to everyone who's watching. So,
Sure.
for those that are here, type hashtag live or hashtag replay. Let us know who you are, what you do, where you're tuning in from, and we're going to dive right in. So, Kylie, if you don't mind sharing, maybe share a little bit about who you are, what you do, why you're here today.
Well, obviously, hello, my name's Kylie. I am a hairstylist in Fort Worth, Texas. And I mean, I have had my salon company now for 10 years, but I didn't start out that way. I started as a solo and I started back in 2000, moving from state to state. I've done hair all the way from Alabama to California and now back to Texas. I was in Missouri for a while. So kind of almost coast to coast. And I love it. Like hair is one of those things. It's kind of like, being a nurse or a doctor or a teacher, wherever you move, you can always work.
I
And
love
it's
it.
fantastic.
Awesome. Well, I would love to hear back, Kylie, 24 years ago when you were first like getting introduced to the industry. Like,
Uh-huh.
what did that look like? Why did you get into hair and the salon world in the first place?
So honestly, I knew that I was going to do hair since I was young. So that was never really a question for me. I mean, I knew going straight out of high school, that's what I was going to be doing.
Hmm.
And I actually chose to graduate early and, pursue that dream of mine to actually become a hairstylist. Much to, some of my family would have rather me have not done that because they wanted me to go to school. But I was like, nope, that's not what I want to do. So I was proud of myself for doing that. But I mean, back then, I mean, the hairstyling world is a lot different now than it is, 20 years ago. And we have so much more access to, social media, which is fantastic. But back then, it was a little different. Building the clientele was different.
Right. I'm
Hmm.
excited to hear like how you started out versus maybe how things are different now and maybe what you learned along the way. So I think it's cool though that
Um,
like this was always like you knew this is what you wanted to do like since you were young.
yes. Yep.
That's awesome. So living the dream that
100%.
you manifested, it sounds
Yes.
like.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Absolutely.
So walk me through, I guess, like when you first got into the industry, did you start out
Mhm.
working for someone else? Like what was the journey to getting, I guess, starting out maybe from zero to your first like 10,000 month or going out on your own? Like, did you start there? Did you start working for someone else? What was the
I
transition?
did. Yeah, I started out there in booth rental, and it was kind of one of those things. I actually bartended, I waitressed. I, I mean, I had multiple jobs at one time, but with the goal to build my hair clientele. So back then, I was waitressing, bartending, giving out cards to literally every person that I could come into contact with. And I did that until I didn't have to do it anymore,
Mhm.
and to where I was just solely doing hair at that point. And then, kind of started seeing things, um, pick up and ramp up actually within my career, and being able to um, stop bartending and waitressing, although I did love that because I'm a people person. But back in 2000, I actually got certified for Great Lengths hair extensions. So I've been doing luxury hair extensions since 2000, which is kind
That's
of
awesome.
crazy. I like got out of
Well,
school and just hit the ground running with that. But I saw, you know, the need. Obviously, it's a lot more popular now because I feel like everybody has probably hair extensions of some sort in their head. But back then, it wasn't as much, but there was still a need.
right.
And I just kind of saw that as an opportunity to start growing that. So every state I moved to, I really started growing that hair extension piece,
Love it.
and then
So,
focusing on those higher ticket services.
okay. So you started with hair extensions like pretty early in your journey,
Very.
like right out the gate. Um,
Yes.
so since 2000, so 24 years now, you've been doing hair extensions. You actually like you went straight to booth rental from the moment you first got into the industry. So
I did. And it was a
wasn't work.
little, I mean, it was a little scary at first, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I
you
can
just
imagine.
kind of have to commit and sort of, I mean, honestly, set some goals for yourself, to
Yeah.
steer yourself in the right direction. Because if
What were
not, it can be kind of a tricky place.
100%. What were some of the goals that maybe you set, like, when you first signed, I guess, that lease for the rental? Like, how did you prepare for that? What was your game plan, like, coming out the gate?
Well, I mean, I was a lot younger too back then. So, I mean, I would say my first goal was, oh my gosh, I need to be able to pay my rent,
Mhm.
obviously. And then after that, I just started seeing, like, okay, how many new clients could I get this month? Or how many new hair extension clients could I try to get? But like I said, it was a lot harder back then because we didn't have, social media and being able to use that piece. So it was a much slower process to grow. I mean, it was more word of mouth, honestly, and who you connected
Yeah.
with. Yeah.
Well, I'm interested, like, so you started with booth rental. This is in, like, 2020 era. Started
Uh-huh.
with hair extensions. You set some goals for yourself. First, it was just to make some rent and, like, pay
Yes,
your bills.
which is crazy.
And we've exceeded that much farther now.
Yes, of
Um,
course.
that's great. And right out the gate, I think it's very savvy of you, like right off the bat, like how many clients do I need, like, per day, per week, per month to achieve that
Yeah,
goal?
yeah.
Um, I see a lot of people who are like, um, I mean, I talk to them every single week. We have some different demographics of people we chat with. It's either like
Mhm,
someone who's like working a job elsewhere, trying to go all in on their business,
mhm.
and make that transition from like, working for someone else to self-employed, right?
Yeah.
And then we have a lot of people who are either in booth rental, who are looking to just max themselves out, or we have people who are also maybe looking to max themselves out, then move to a salon owner, and then those salon owners max themselves out from going from there. So,
Yes.
what for let's maybe talk and speak to some of those people. Like, what would you advise or recommend for someone? Because you started out bartending too. At what point
Yeah.
did you feel confident, like going all in into the salon? And what would you recommend for someone who may be like trying to make that transition right now?
I mean, I guess I did it until I felt obviously like financially supported enough not to have to keep going to work at the bar at night,
Mhm.
do hair all day and then go and work at the bar until midnight or like 1 in the morning. But
Yeah.
yeah, until and honestly, I could say moving from state to state, I used that method year after year until I didn't have to do it anymore. So every time we moved to a new state, I would go waitress or bartend somewhere, meet all the people,
Mm.
talk to all the
Yeah.
people. And then every time it took about a 1 year, a 1 year time period to get to where I didn't need to do it anymore.
That's awesome.
So I was
And
just fully in the salon.
so you moved a lot then during this early time period. So you
Yeah.
had to go through the struggle of like starting and having to rebuild clientele through these places you moved to. How many times did you move during that time period?
We moved one, two, three, four. So 4 times total.
It's
My
a lot of
husband's in construction.
reset.
So
Okay,
yes.
gotcha.
Yes.
Well, I
Yep.
think I'd love to dive into that as well because like there's also I talked to a lot of people who are also either one they're struggling to build their business off the ground,
Hmm.
and maybe they've been in business for a while. It's just not growing at the rate they want to. But we also have a lot of people who are brand new and fresh, or who are like moving and they have to start from scratch. So like
Yes.
I know you said in the early phase for you it was like grassroots, like word of mouth, cards, flyers, like
Yep.
just going and meeting people. I think that's awesome that you just said like the bartending helped you get connected and make relationships
Yes.
and stuff. So
Yes.
that's great.
Yes.
What what would you say like what helped you really get clients in your early years, like specifically? Like if you had to help someone kind of go from 0 to 10K right now, like what would you maybe recommend to get out and build their clientele?
I mean, honestly, just what I did, I just got out. Like every place I went to, I made sure I talked to people. So I also feel like, it got me out of that comfort zone of even being shy at all because I made sure, like, everywhere I went, I talked to someone or I left a card somewhere or,
Hmm.
would even leave them in the bathrooms at like clubs or wherever I was at restaurants. I just always try to connect with people and talk to them because you
Love
never know. I mean, you're out and about and you never know who you may run into.
it.
But at
Yeah.
the restaurant, when I was working, at the restaurant or the bar, I would also really help my coworkers out and make sure their hair looked phenomenal because then when they were at other tables, those tables would be like, "Oh my gosh, I love your hair," and they'd be like, "Well, let me go get her." So
Yeah.
I kind of used also my coworkers as a billboard.
That's awesome. Well, one thing we often say that I think a lot of people just sometimes overlook in today's day and age is like people do business with people. And like
Yes.
they don't do business with your logo, your brand, your website, your pricing menu. Like a lot of the stuff that people spend all their time on is like trying to create a bunch of content or put a fancy website up or
Right.
like put all this energy into things that isn't making human connections, which is like
Yes.
that's the name of the game, right? Like it doesn't matter if
Yes.
you're back in 2020 or here it is 2024. Like we've got to connect and meet people so that we can
Yes.
actually help them,
Yes.
right? So um,
Yes.
how long did it take you to build like to your first 10,000 per month on your own?
Oh, on my own, I mean, probably quite a while on my own, honestly. Just because one, you either need to do more services at a higher ticket price, right? Or you're going to work yourself to death, which I have 100% been guilty of doing that in the past. And I still do sometimes. But um, I mean, it takes a while, I think, to hit that mark. But I think it wasn't until Jordan that maybe I got to a point where having um, some extra hands, like an associate, that really helps.
Okay, interesting. Well, let's
Yeah, but I mean,
let's talk about
it takes a long time. I think. I mean, too, and I guess it depends on how much you work and how many hours you want to put in a week. I guess for everybody is probably different, but I mean, for me with extra hands, you can hit that mark a lot quicker.
that. Okay, awesome. Well,
Yep.
I'm excited to chat about that because like I know a lot of solo professionals, some who
Hmm.
are just starting out, some who are maybe like not quite at the income level they want to get to, but they're working on it. And I know some
Yeah.
people who are solos doing 10, 25, some 30, 40, 50 grand a month just themselves.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people that I've talked to at least that sometimes struggle to make that transition from solopreneur to actual owner or
Hmm.
self-employed to actual true business ownership.
Hmm.
At what point in your journey did you make that decision that I'm going to bring on like an associate or someone to work with me so that I can get to the next level?
Honestly, it kind of happened, I feel like, sort of haphazardly where we were working at. I had rented a space for a long time. I think it was about 5 years. And then my friend and I, we were like, there just has to be something more. There has to be something more than being stuck in this room like by ourselves all day. And there
Mm,
has to be a way to do this better. So we actually had got the opportunity to go to Summit Salon Business Center here in Florida. It's in Tampa. And it's kind of, they're the number one consulting company for salons and spas in the US and Canada. So we kind of got to take a look at like their business blueprints, see how everything ran, what they recommended, and then we just kind of went from there, honestly.
that's awesome. So you're about 5 years in where
Mm-hmm.
you, what, if you don't mind sharing, like what were you doing in terms of like revenue or income, like when you made that transition?
Oh gosh. I mean, I was probably at that point, I was probably near 15,000 a month,
Okay. So
probably.
15, that's awesome. So 15K per month.
Hmm.
Um, and this was with all of these moves happening too, like through those 5 years.
Yes.
So moved a bunch of times, had to build and rebuild multiple times, but we're able to get to a point
Yes.
where consistently you were doing 10, $15,000 a month or more, just you.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Because
awesome.
we finally got settled, in Texas where we were at. So no more
Okay.
moving.
That's awesome. Um, well, that's great. I would love to hear, like, if you were to go back and restart and
Hmm.
you like were a solo professional right now,
Hmm.
trying to go from 0 to 10 to 15K per month right now, what would you do to get there as fast as you could?
I would definitely focus on the working smarter, not harder piece, like focusing on bigger ticket items. I would not have wasted a lot of time doing just haircuts, honestly. I would focus either on chemical services, I would focus on extension services, or even hair replacement services. Anything that would be higher ticket is going to get you there a lot quicker. And sometimes too, it's not what's in your chair, but what you can do with what's in your chair. So like service
Right.
add-ons and just anything to increase that ticket. But also, like, I mean, whatever you're doing, you want to do it from an authentic place too, because you don't want to ever sell somebody
Absolutely.
something that they don't need.
Right.
But
100%.
so there's a balance. But I would focus on higher ticket offerings. And then, I mean, obviously, y'all do marketing. So now we have so many more ways of doing smart marketing than we used to back then. So I would look into that as well.
Love it. So you'd advise, like, how can I just maximize my pricing or the biggest possible ticket, work smarter, not harder, and then focus on getting clients for that thing.
Yes. Yes.
um,
Yeah.
and that's awesome. One of the main things that we always talk about, like a broken record, is like there's only three ways to grow a business, which is get more clients, get the clients you have paying you more money, and getting them
Hmm.
coming back more often. Like that's
Yeah.
it. And so
Yeah.
any other time like that we have trying to grow our business, like if not focused on those things, is not going to help grow the business. So we should put all of our attention there, right?
Yes.
So
Correct.
um,
Yep.
I like what you mentioned about finding that bigger ticket, maximizing your time. If you were to restart, and let's say you had like 30, 60, 90 days to rebuild a 0 to 15K per month clientele, what would
Hmm.
you do to get those clients for that service?
I mean, utilize social media. I think there's really good ways now of doing that. So I would definitely leverage social media and marketing. But I mean, also a lot of what we already do is just you have to talk to people. You have to talk to people. I mean, it's the human connection. There's a loss of it. I feel like these days, and the more you can kind of tap into that, the more successful I feel like you're going to be.
I think
Because
that's
I
great.
mean, hairstyling is very personal. So,
Right.
you know, people, I mean, they form a relationship with us. So, and
Yeah.
then obviously referrals. Those people are going to refer to you, their friends. Like once you deliver them a great job, the referrals start coming in like crazy.
I love it. There's a saying that we always say in our community, which is just make business personal again. I think like um,
Yes.
one thing we talk about all the time is just like if you look back 20 years ago, and you know this probably even better than I do, like
Hmm.
the only way to grow our business was to get out, talk to people, and
Yep.
like market ourselves through conversations with people in our community through any medium,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And social media is meant to be a medium for doing the same types of things in a different way. In
Yes.
like able to do that more successfully rather than like having to go out and meet a bunch of people. You can easily pop yourself into,
Yep.
a local networking group or Facebook group, or
Yes.
connect with people on Facebook or Instagram and do
Yep.
that like very quickly. But I think a
Yep.
lot of people are so focused, I guess, more on the branding component or creating a bunch of content and like hoping and praying, crossing their fingers that people are going to conversate with them rather than like be intentional about starting those
Yes.
conversations and things like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
So for you, a couple things you mentioned with like building the clientele, social
Hmm.
media with the intent of talking to people, and then from those people, who do they know that could also, be a good fit for the services you have to offer
Right.
through referrals?
Yeah.
How would you use social media today if you had to rebuild that clientele in the next 30, 60, 90 days? You're going from 0 to 10, $15,000 a month or more. What would you do
I
specifically?
mean, I would utilize the Facebook groups. Like there's so many Facebook groups that you can get into and utilize. And honestly, I mean, there's so many. My friend uses. I haven't quite tapped into mine yet because we've been pretty busy with other things. But there's an awesome software. I mean, there's probably so many that you can use the AI software for your Facebook, your Instagram. It just makes things a lot easier. But you can get into those groups and really start making connections with people. And then, of course, there's always ads. You can always do your ads, run ads.
So Facebook groups, uh,
Yes.
being intentional about making those connections in your local
Hmm.
area, and then
Yeah.
advertising. If it's cool with you, I'd love to hear like for each one of those, like just a bird's eye view, maybe like
Hmm.
how have you found to best leverage like Facebook groups and making those connections?
I
What's worked best
mean,
for you?
I've gone into groups in the past and just kind of started, like I'll kind of go through, look at the groups, and I'm like, okay, this person might look like a good client, and she looks maybe like she's in my area. Let me send her like a little wave, and then usually people will reply back. Sometimes they won't, but you can kind of start connecting with people that way, and then they might get onto your page and be like, oh, I see you do hair. And
Yeah.
then, so I've gotten some like that. Same, like, I feel like Instagram, people reach out to you from your page.
Okay.
Um, I just try to post like what I like to do on there. But on Facebook, yeah, you can go into the groups and and then you can post too within the groups. There's lots of, mom groups and like there's like where we're at, there'll be mom groups that you can jump into and start meeting people. That one's always works really well.
Love it. So
Yeah.
find the groups in your area with the intent to
Yep.
just make connections, build relationships. For
Yes.
people in those groups who like seem like someone who could catch a good vibe with you or whatnot, like
Hmm.
you're mentioning, like reach out to them directly, like give them a
Yeah.
wave, say hello, introduce
Yeah.
yourself. What would, because I see a lot of people get stuck here. It's like they'll maybe join groups, they'll get connected, they'll even post content or make posts in groups,
Hmm.
but I see a lot of people shy away from like actually engaging or starting in that conversation. What's like, I guess, an example of something that you would say or have said in the past that's like led to a
So I would just be like, sometimes I'm just like, oh, hey, like I see you're in my area. I love your hair. If you ever get in a bind, or if you can't get in with your regular person, I'm over here at XYZ. I'd love to have you in. Um, once I would say that once they kind of started. engaging back, I just would hit them with that right off the get-go.
I love it. So just simple introduction, not overthinking it, right?
Yes. Yeah, not overthinking it. Just like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. I'd love to see you in. I see you're in my area. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Love it. So who you are, what you do, and like would love to connect sometime if you're open to it,
Yeah.
right?
And if you
That's
wanted to, you could even give them like a little something to get them in. Just like, you could even be like, hey, like, I'd love to have you in for a blowout, because a blowout's very non committal and
right.
they can get to know you that way too. So,
Love it. Yeah, what
yeah.
we found works really good too is just like, love to invite you for a consultation sometime if you're open to it, or
Yeah. Yeah.
um, just
Absolutely.
even if it's like a coffee date or like a lunch date, like meeting more
Yeah.
people, I think is the name
Hmm.
of the game, right? And
Yeah.
that it sounds like that philosophy plus, combining ads and content, which we'll talk about maybe next, like that, I mean, that's sounds like the simple enough recipe for you that took you from 0 to 10 to 25 to 50 to 100 to almost 200 grand a month. You said you capped that at 189,
Yeah.
and taking home a ton of that. Like it's just, it, it's always funny when I talk to people who are doing big numbers because it's usually never anything complicated. And it
Hmm.
sounds like it hasn't been the case for you. It's just, I'm going to meet people any
Yep.
way that I can and do it consistently, and then
Yes.
build relationships and ask them
Hmm.
if they want to invite their friends or family members in for referrals, and keep doing it.
Yes.
Is that pretty much
Yes.
it?
Yes. And being authentic. I mean, being authentic is, I think, one of the, just be yourself. Be
Yeah.
yourself.
What do you feel like
Yes.
that means to you? Like authenticity. Like what's an example of being authentic versus not being
I
authentic?
mean, just being who I am and being honest with people, like what I think would be great for them. Like, you don't just want to come across as like a salesperson, like
Right.
a hair salesperson. Like, just be yourself and be honest. Like, be honest with them. Be honest, with what you would think would do great for them and how they're going to maintain it and take care of it at home.
I love it. What do
Yeah.
you feel like? Because I know you're venturing into also like coaching. You've worked with, I mean, how
Mhm.
many team and staff members have you like worked with to date?
Tons. I'm like, we've
A
had
lot.
tons. Currently, we have 18.
18 currently. So I'm
Hmm.
sure well more
Yeah.
than that over the past 20 plus years in business.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
what what do you feel holds most people back from getting themselves out there and making those connections?
I think they're, well, I think they just get scared. And I heard the other day on a different class I'm in, people get stuck in the, I don't know, it's like scroliosis where we just scroll through our
I like
phone.
that. Yeah,
But we're not doing anything really while we're scrolling. We're just like simply scrolling, and it's such a time waste. But I'm like, if you're going to be scrolling, why not try to be monetizing that?
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
I think we just get
are.
stuck. We get stuck, and we're stuck in habits, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we call it getting caught in the wormhole. I think
Yeah.
scoliosis is funny too. Um, I think one big thing that we have a lot of, I mean, us and a lot of our members have committed to this year and have really focused on the past 5 years is being a creator of content versus a consumer of content, right? Like,
Hmm.
I think it's so easy to get caught in scoliosis or
Yeah.
getting caught in the wormhole where,
Yeah.
like, you check your phone, next thing you know, it's been an hour of scrolling TikToks or other people's content. I think like
Yes.
being intentional about being a creator and being a connector through your, like you said, just being authentic, being yourself, and looking to use social media as a tool the way it's intended to be used, which is to connect
Yeah.
people, I think is so
Right.
important. Is there anything that's worked well for you to like be consistent with that and avoid, I guess, getting trapped in the wormhole, getting distracted, avoiding scoliosis?
I mean, well, we all scroll, but it's like if you can maybe take the first like few minutes to actually get something done in a good way versus just simply like scrolling, I
Mhm.
think, that if you could try to set those habits to where you're like, okay, I'm going to go in and conversate with 5 or 10 people before I ever just randomly start just scrolling. You know, we all do it.
Yeah.
And then before you know, an hour has gone by and you've accomplished nothing.
Yep. Been there many
Yeah.
times,
Yeah.
many weeks.
It's like a waste of time.
Yeah. I think just being aware about it is probably step number one, right? Like how much
Yes.
time, and you can find out on your phone, like how much screen time is being spent like on platforms and
Yes.
stuff. Like when I first
Yeah.
figured that out and I found out how many hours a day I was spending just wasted, it was like mind blowing to me. Like, man,
Yeah.
like I've got to move my time, right? But I like what you said,
Yes.
like, you know, getting maybe like the hard things done first, or we often say like eat the frog, start the
Yeah.
day with like proactive behaviors. And then
Yeah.
like there's nothing wrong with, I think, scrolling, but if that's holding you back from avoiding the things that you need to do to grow the business, that's a problem, right?
Right.
um,
Yes.
so I think that's good. So that's great. You just mentioned if you were to grow a clientele from scratch, from 0 to 10 or 0 to 15K per month, which you've done um, multiple times from what it sounds after all the moves and
Hmm.
all of that, you'd focus first on like local human connections, using social media as a tool to do so. You mentioned Facebook groups, starting conversations there. You mentioned kind of how you would go about that. You
Hmm.
also mentioned like advertising and then uh, content as well. Maybe we could dive into
Yes.
those as well, because like
Sure.
uh, what I'd like to do with the time that we have today, Kylie, is like, I mean, you've accomplished so much over the years, and you're working to create a huge impact in the industry as a whole with some things that you're working on now that I'm super
Yes.
excited about.
Yes.
But like, you've been able to go through the stages that most people dream of, which is 0 to 10,000 a month, to 25,000, to 50,000, to 100,000, to top line
Yes.
$189,000 a month. And if you don't mind sharing, what's like been the highest take home monthly that you've been able to achieve like in your career?
40.
40,000 a month,
Hmm.
which is crazy. That's
Yeah.
40,000 a month done consistently. If we do the math, that's
Consistently.
480 grand a year. So pretty dang impressive. Especially since, I mean, you and I both know this. I mean, the average earnings in the salon and spa world are like 30 grand a year, which is the poverty line, right? Which is why
Hmm.
people like us are trying to change that.
Yeah.
Um, but
Because it can be done.
yeah, I mean,
It
you're
can be
living proof.
done. Yeah. I'm
It
like,
can
it
be
can be
done.
done. Yeah.
But I think the number one thing that's going to make sure it gets done is getting clients first, right? Like we could talk about
Yes.
ticket prices, we could talk about retention, we could talk about building and managing and getting a
Yes.
team, which we hopefully have more than enough time to dive into today. Um, but the number one thing I think most people struggle with is consistent, predictable client attraction.
Yeah.
Would you
I
agree?
mean, yes, it does. Yep.
And so we talked about like organic methods that you've used. What's
Hmm.
worked well for you on the advertising side?
Well, I mean, Facebook and Instagram ads work pretty well. I don't, these days, I don't do a lot of like any kind of mailers or anything like that. That all goes straight in the garbage, I feel like. But it used to work a little more, I feel like, where we would connect, especially with, new people moving into the community. They would do different things for that. But I feel like these days, so much of that, it just gets thrown away. So
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, when you guys at Real Beauty Bosses, I actually did a little dive into when I first started using your marketing system and the ads. In 6 months of using RBV, that actually made $64,000 just
That's
from
awesome.
extensions.
That's crazy. How
Yeah,
long was the timeline?
six
64.
months,
That's
and it
insane.
was $64,000, and that was just in hair extensions alone,
Just through the advertising, not
just
organic,
with
not any.
advertising.
That's awesome. And that's new
Yeah.
clients too, right?
Yes.
That's crazy.
I did a
Um,
little bit of homework on that before I jumped on here because I was like, I wanted to see, like, in that time period when I first started utilizing those ads that you all were running, like, what that actually did.
that's
It was
awesome.
pretty crazy.
Well, those that have like no idea like what you did or how it worked, like how would you explain it? Like how did that process work specifically? It was through Facebook and Instagram, but what was like how did it work?
Well, I mean, we came up with an ad campaign and what we wanted that to look like and who we were targeting. So we kind of picked our target audience, who we were looking for and who we wanted to be our client. In my case, it was hair extension clients. So we came up with our good content. Y'all helped me out with that, kind of creating some verbiage there, and then obviously we needed some good photos. So taking pictures of your work always helps for that too. Because now it's so easy for people to see your work. Your Instagram is your portfolio. So, as take your pictures and make sure you're posting them, because when people then find you, it's very easy for them to go and see what you're doing.
Love it.
But I mean, y'all helped a lot create those ads. It was a very streamlined process.
We're about to plug and play it now as well.
Yeah.
We're working on refining it, so I'm pumped for that.
Yeah.
64K in 6 months. That's
Mhm.
I'm gonna keep a note of that so I can hype you up in the community. That's pretty
It's
awesome.
awesome. Yeah.
But you basically, pretty simple process, like Facebook and Instagram ad, making sure that you have like a specific offer, what it is that you're
Hmm.
offering. What was your
Yep.
offer? It was for extensions, right?
So it was for extensions, and what we were doing was now there's different types of extensions. So I guess you would want to be careful what you were offering. But from my typical installation, it only takes honestly roughly 20 minutes of my time because of the type of extensions I use. So I was doing a complimentary installation with the purchase of hair. But the
Okay.
whole purpose of that is for the repeat business, because I'm going to see those clients every 6 to 8 months or every 6 to 8 weeks.
Love it. So free installation with purchase of the hair is the
Yeah.
offer.
Mhm.
And putting together an ad with that, with content that's like, how did you go about the content creation? Like, what worked best for you in the ad specifically? Was it image, video, before and after? What worked best for you
I
guys?
think it was the video, honestly. The
Okay.
video, I think that helps a lot.
I love it.
Yeah.
Anyone who's watching
Because I
right
think
now,
I think a video is more attention grabbing.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
look at YouTube Shorts, TikTok Reels, Instagram, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Like the videos right now are definitely going to hook the most, right? And
Yes.
and
Yep.
stand out, stop the scroll.
Yep.
So,
Yes.
um, if you'd be open to it, Kylie, would you be
Mhm.
open to like sharing like your ad example with maybe some people who want to
Yeah.
see it in the
I
community?
mean, I don't have it in front of me, but do you?
Not
Do you
now. I
have
was
what we
saying
had?
we
Okay.
could get together after this. And
Yeah.
if you're open to it, I know we're
Absolutely.
doing a lot of cool stuff together this year.
Yeah.
So
That would be
if
fun.
anyone, yeah, if anyone wants to see like exactly like what Kylie's done to like go from 0 to 10, 25, 50, 100 grand
Mhm.
plus per month, taking home at her peak $40,000 a month. And her ads that got her 64K in 6 months. If you guys would love to see what she did behind the scenes, type hashtag Kylie down below in the chat. And maybe Kylie, if you're open to it at some point throughout the next few months or so, maybe we could get together and put together like a little master class or behind the
Yeah.
scenes kind of workshop or
Absolutely.
something showing that. I think that
Mhm.
would be great.
Absolutely.
But that's awesome. And I know you had the ad, good offer, good content.
Mhm.
Which for you, you said the offer was a free installation with the purchase of the hair, and
Right.
then that's the ad with a good content creative that was a video. You said worked best for you, and then
Yes.
you guys set up like the 2-page funnel process
Mhm.
as well, correct?
Yep. Mhm.
And just one funnel, that was about it.
Yep.
64K in 6 months. If you had to
Yeah.
estimate, like, I guess for us, did you only run it for 6 months or like
No,
how
we ran it for longer. I just kind of took the first 6 months as I should have pulled up the whole thing, but I just kind of took the first 6 months as a guideline.
love it. So like potentially these clients who have come in, not only the 64K in 6 months on the front end, but probably hundreds of thousands on the back end from the retaining of those
Yeah.
clients, the
Oh
referrals.
yeah.
I love it. In one system, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I think a lot of people try to make it so complicated. I think like if you just get one solid organic strategy that works for you that you can do consistently, and then you
Right.
can get, the resources and the time and financial abundance to be able to turn on the advertising system and process that has the ad, the
Hmm.
funnel, and then you can book and reach out. Like for
Yep.
most people, I think like that's all that's needed, right? Like,
Yes. Yes. And I
um,
mean, it is all that's needed, but a lot of it too is, I mean, it's important is the consultation process. Like once you get those people in, you need a strong like consultation game. And
yeah,
then my other best piece of advice would be to, I mean, if you're serious about, like I was doing hair extensions, if you can make the commitment and have hair on hand, is much better than having to order it each time that you need it. But I would make sure you're stocking. I mean, do it like you're serious about doing it. If you have $20,000 of hair stocked, ready to go, you're going to be more serious about selling that hair than if you didn't have it and you were just
yeah,
ordering it as you needed it. So it's kind of
got to
like a
be
little
all
gas
in.
on the fire.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
not playing it safe, like go all in, bet on yourself,
yeah.
and get the momentum and the wheel turning, right?
Yep. And I mean, those are things that, like, when people want it, they want it right then.
Yeah, 100%.
They don't
I
want
I
to have
love
to
that.
wait.
So I think this is awesome because I think a lot of people right now, like our main mission, we want to help. I mean, 1,000 people in this year make their first or next 10,000 per month. Over
Yeah.
time, we want to help 10,000 people make their first or next 10,000 per month.
Yep.
Because that's the number I hear all the time. I want to make 10,000 a month, or I want to take home 10,000 a month. Where's the first or next? And I think ultimately, um, like we said, and this has been consistent for you for 24 years, like client attraction is the number one thing, butts and seats that's going to get the business growing. And then working
Yes.
on once they walk in, how do we optimize, maximize that consultation? How do we ask for
Hmm.
referrals? How do we keep our clients coming back and build those and
Right.
nurture those relationships for the long run? So I think
Yes.
that's awesome. So that is your recommendation for people who are looking to go from zero to their first or next 10 to 15,000 per month. Organic, Facebook groups, getting connected in your community, getting an advertising campaign set up that's designed to actually book appointments through the ad, the content, the funnel.
Yep.
And then you mentioned content creation as well. Is that like been a big important factor of you building the business and brand is creating content consistently as well?
Yes.
What
Yes.
what would you
Because I
advise, I
mean,
guess? Sorry, go ahead.
honestly, I would just advise like getting yourself one of those tripods and take videos, take pictures. Like you're going to need some good materials so that you can always have fresh, fresh things to post. You can't post the same picture, 20
Yeah,
times in a month. But
100%.
yeah, I mean the tripods are super inexpensive. You can just grab one on Amazon and set it up. It's easy to do, video, pictures. I know doing videos of myself working, those always view really well. I just, I don't know. I think having just fresh, relevant material each month is, I mean, it's key. And it's not something, I mean, you could really focus 1 week on getting a whole bunch of content to where you're not having to do it every single week. But,
Yeah,
just pick and choose your times or what you're doing,
yeah.
what you want to do it on. Yep.
What I've seen for us and like some of our most successful members in the community is like instead of making it a chore to create content every day or week, like just integrating it into your appointment process or your daily workflow, right? Like, so it's
Yeah.
not like I have to block out this time to go and like film in front of a camera or something. Like,
Yes.
just
Yes.
get the tripod, like start filming yourself doing the work with your clients,
Yeah.
taking pictures of before and afters, like just integrating it into your daily workflows, like what I've found works best. It sounds like that's worked best for you
Yeah.
as well.
And I think too, with like any chores that I may ever be doing, whether it's in salon, at home, whatever, I'm like, how can I make it fun? Like, how is
Yeah,
this going to be fun? And once you can see
yeah,
it that way, it's not hard.
yeah.
Just make
Make
it
it fun.
fun. Yeah.
Make content fun.
Yes.
I
Yes.
love it. Is there like a, I guess, routine or workflow or system that you've created that you find has worked really well for you, from like creating to editing to uploading or publishing?
So, to be honest, I used to do a lot of that myself, and I found it was hard because it does take a lot of time. I feel like for myself it did. But as I got going, and the more I started to get busy, because then you have less time, I started outsourcing that. So, finding a personal branding, you know, person, that helps a lot. So now I'm to a point where I send her all of my information every single month. Like, I'll send her all my pictures, I'll send her all of my content, like things I've written out, and she actually puts all that together, takes it off my plate to where
Love
I
it.
can focus on just simply working.
That's awesome.
But you
I
do
love
have
the
to make
chat.
the time to get it to her.
Yeah. You got to create it, but you can get the help with like editing and publishing.
Yes, yes,
Um, I do. You obviously figured out in the early phase yourself what worked best. I assume that
yes,
person like started with just like kind of you buying your time back and them starting to do
yep,
some of the things you were already doing. And then um,
yes,
did they just keep going from there? Was there anything that
yep,
evolved
yeah,
or
yeah.
um,
No, I just had them keep going.
I love it. So
Yeah.
basically,
Because it does take time to make, you know, to make beautiful pictures and videos, and it doesn't always have to be beautiful, it just needs to get out there. I think a lot of people too get hung up on just like trying to make it perfect, but it doesn't
yeah,
necessarily have to be perfect, as it just needs to get out.
100%. I think
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well,
yeah,
that's great, and we can dive deeper into this on if we put together a class or something here soon.
yeah.
Maybe what that looks like for you, because it sounds like you're um, since you've transitioned to ownership, you've been able to get yourself pretty well removed from needing to be behind the chair like 24/7. Is that correct?
Yes and no. I mean, I'm there because I want to be there.
Yeah,
I don't think I would never not be behind the chair. I mean, I do like the business part of it, but honestly, working with my clients, that is my favorite part. I mean, it is
I
my
love it.
favorite part. I love it. So I don't
Yeah,
think I'll ever get fully behind there. And I love working. Like, I
yeah,
I find for me it's great to have a purpose, every
yeah.
day.
I love that. I think, I mean, you got to love what you do if you're going to like go through what it takes to build a successful business, right? I think like
Yeah.
if you aren't super passionate about your clients or making these connections or
Hmm.
getting content created to get the word out there, like it's going to be very difficult to like force yourself to do the activities if you're not passionate about it, right? So
Right.
like I
Right.
love that. It's
Yeah.
and you even getting to a point where you've done 100 to almost 200 grand a month, like you're still you're doing the work behind the chair because you want to, but not because you have to. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Like
Yeah. I
I
love
think
to.
that, yeah, freedom
I
of
love
choice,
to.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, with the time we have left, we talked about like how basically anyone could start from 0 to 10 or make their next 10 to 15. Um, what were the steps when you transitioned to ownership? What did
Hmm.
the journey look like after that that got you to like maybe your first 25K month, 50K month, 100K month and beyond? Like what did the journey look
Oh,
like after you like started
I
hiring?
mean, yeah. I mean, that's a whole different process. I mean, it's just a lot of training. We do a mentoring program in salon, so and it's kind of like a wash and repeat like system. We get new stylists, we help train them, and then they go onto the floor. And then honestly, we just kind of kept doing that system
Hmm.
until, I mean, you get all your stylists busy, and it's kind of a win-win for everybody because our associates that are coming in, they get extra help coming out of school, and it's not so scary, right? As just
Right.
being thrown onto the salon floor and being like, "Oh, good luck." But it kind of gives them the opportunity to grow their clientele slowly, and then by the time they're ready to go onto the floor, they're busy. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of the system we used. I'm sure everybody has. There's a million different system out there, but I mean that's what we did.
I mean, I love how simple you keep in everything, because like I think so many people can get so caught in the details and the trenches of like all the things they think they have to do. But it sounds like
Yes.
for you, you've just kept it really simple. And like, as you just mentioned, like even when you started hiring, it was like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm gonna like train, mentor, and like build these people up by sharing what I'm doing, and like
Yeah.
keep doing more of that.
Yeah. And
And like,
early on, Jordan, in that time, we had a fabulous mentor. And I mean, she taught us from an early time when we first opened, just hire the person and then train the skill. So that was kind of hard for me to digest at first because I was like,
mhm,
wait a second, like, what do you mean just hire the person? She's like, well, hire the person and then you can always teach them how to do hair. And I'm like, you're so right. Like, you can always teach someone to do hair, but you can't necessarily redo their personality.
right. So
So I think
really,
that was a key too.
yeah, like just hiring someone who's maybe has good attitude, good energy, like
Yes.
who you could see yourself aligning with, a good
Who's a
culture fit.
team player? Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then simply just then training them the ropes and the skills of how to be a
Yes.
high performer. That's
Yes.
awesome. Do
Yeah.
you know like who's been like, I guess, your top stylist that you've like been able to have on the team over the years? Do you know like I guess what's your top performer, I guess, do on average per month in revenue?
Oh my gosh, they can do 20 to 25,000.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So people who are working with you on the team doing like 20, 25,000, and then
Yeah.
that's commission based, I
And
would
that's yes. Yeah.
that's awesome.
And
Do
that's
you,
fantastic. I mean, that is so great. We've had some that come, out of high school and they go through our associate program, they get onto the floor. And I mean, I think sometimes their families are shocked like what they can do,
yeah.
because a lot of people, I still feel like there's a stigma for us hairstylists, like, oh, they don't make that much money. Well, that's not true. You actually can.
Yeah.
And we've had plenty do it.
I mean, I
We've
love
had
that.
a lot of them do it, and then their parents have eaten their words.
Yeah. And I think that's awesome too, because like I see so many owners who like either struggle to find the right people, train the right people, or actually get the business growing. Like they
Yeah.
capped it themselves. Um,
Mhm.
and I think if you have a good opportunity and you have a good proof of concept and you've actually done well yourself, I think it doesn't have to be so complicated to transfer those skills to someone else, as long as
Right.
you're passionate about it, right? And I would
Right.
assume these stylists that you're mentioning who are making, I mean, they're generating 20 to 25K. I mean, they're taking
Hmm.
home easy six figures working with you.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas most people, because I think you said stigma, I think the big stigma in the ownership world is like that everyone just wants to work for themselves, and there's no good people out there, and like, they just block themselves. What do you think holds most owners back from like building their dream team?
What do I think holds them back? Oh, I don't. I don't really know. Honestly, I don't really know. Like from building their dream team, sometimes I feel like it's just simple systems in place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
What are some of those systems that have worked
and some
best
of
for
it,
you?
like either really good hiring processes or even relationships with the schools are really good. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, and honestly, the more relationship you can have with the schools, the better. If you're a salon company looking to hire employees, I feel like that's very important. But I mean, it might work also for suite rental or even booth rental situations.
I love it. So, like, getting yourself built first, getting systems in place, which is really just documentation around what's working, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
what does system mean to you? Like, when you say good systems, like, is there an example you maybe have for that for people?
I mean, I feel like that's a lot of what we learned at when we went to the Summit Salon Business Center. It was the entire back end business side of the salon. Like anything from budget guidelines, because you have to have budget guidelines for everything, whether it's
Yeah.
what you're using. the employees that you have. I mean, there's budget guidelines for payroll, there's budget guidelines for support staff and non-support staff. Like, you have to know these these things
Yeah,
if you're going to run a business, right? Or else you won't be open very long.
I love
You
it.
have to know like what you're ordering each week and like why you need that amount.
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
just systems from like the front to the back. I mean, I feel like budgeting guidelines is huge.
absolutely. Would you like, what would you recommend for people who are looking to make that transition to ownership, or maybe they already have a team and staff, but it's not running or growing the way that maybe they would like? Like, what would you recommend them do to like get past that block and get growing to the next level?
Well, I can tell you what we did. We hired a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we did. I mean, to be honest, there's only so many things I feel like you can come up with yourself sometimes. And it's that whole like two heads are better than one. It
Yeah.
absolutely is. If you can find somebody that's already done it and done it well, I would recommend going to straight to that person and ask them. Like, usually they're more than happy to share their
Yeah.
experience. I mean, I know I would be. And I know everybody else that I've ever met, they're always more than happy to share like how they got there and how they did it and where they even started from. So, and the
I love it.
process, like, there's so many resources too now.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
it's, I would say probably just, you got to make sure you find the right person who's actually done it, right? Like someone who
Yeah.
understands it and gets it. Um, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know you're on vacation, so I appreciate you taking the time out
Yes.
today. But
Yes.
final notes, and then I'd love to,
Mhm.
if you want to share a little bit about what you're working on, what we're working on
Sure.
together. Like, I know you got a lot of exciting plans for the year, but there's a lot of people watching right now who are maybe at 0 to 10K, maybe they're at 10 to 25, maybe 25 to 50, maybe trying to go from 25 or 50 to 100. Like, there's people at all different levels that are probably watching this
Yes.
right now. What
Yeah.
would you advise or recommend to people who are looking to make that next jump? Whether it be from 0 to 10, 10 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 100. Is there any words of, I guess, encouragement, inspiration, things that you'd recommend for people who may be like
I
struggling?
mean, I tell my kids this all the time. Like, when you're within literally like an inch of something, that's never the time to quit. Like,
Yeah.
never. So yeah, I'm always like, whenever it's like my daughter, she's in tumbling, and I'm like, you're within an inch of getting, this. Like, it's never the time to quit when you're just that close. But honestly, just finding the resources to help you, like, what what you may be. There's so many different mentorship programs out there. Um, I feel like something that's helped me personally is personal development and really just investing in myself, because your income cannot grow beyond where you're at in your personal development. True story.
Invest in yourself.
Yes, invest in yourself.
I love it.
You're never going to be disappointed if you invest in yourself.
I love it. Well, Kylie, I know we could probably chat for hours about everything that you've learned along your journey. Hopefully, if you're open to it, as we said, we could put together maybe like a class or a behind the
Yeah.
scenes at some point. If you guys want to hear more from Kylie, type hashtag Kylie down below. We'll put together a little cheat sheet based off today's interview. We'll give you guys access to the replay and then an invitation to a behind the scenes class with Kylie where we can dive deeper into all this stuff. But Kylie, you've been able to go from over the past 20 years, uh, all the way from starting at scratch, 0 to 10 to 25 to 50 to 100 to top month, $189,000 in a single month. You've had months where you've taken home consistently 30 to 40,000 per month. What's next for you? Like, what is your goal for this year and future years beyond?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm going to keep rocking where we're at, but I've also, I've shared with you, I'm working on a new project. I have a partner, and we've kind of have recognized and seen some holes and gaps in the beauty industry, and so we have formed Beauty Concierge, and Beauty Concierge will be kind of a coaching and mentoring program, but to help also with mindset and gratitude and marketing and branding and financial literacy. Like a lot of people struggle there, I think, too. You know, how are you going to plan for retirement? How are you going to plan to buy your house? Like, what's going to happen if you have a major illness? Like, where are we going with this thing? So, you know, it's a whole thing we're working on. We're super
I love it.
excited.
Well, I can't wait to see it happen. I can't wait to be a part of the journey. It's going to be awesome to see what, I mean, you may just be getting started. You got so much more to go
Yes,
and
we
give.
are
So,
just getting started with that. We're in the process of finalizing a book. So our book will be out probably here within the next month or two, I would say. So that's really
love it.
exciting.
I love it. Well,
Yes.
anyone who may be watching, if you want to type Kylie down below in the chat, we can get you connected with her. And when she launches her book and the Beauty Concierge, you and I can maybe do share a little bit of that with our Real Beauty Bosses community and
Yes.
members. And
Yeah,
I'm excited for that. It's going to be awesome. So
absolutely.
where can
Absolutely.
people maybe get more access to you, follow you? Like where can people connect
Yeah.
with you?
You can find me at Kylie at the Knot. So Kylie, Kylie, at the KNOT. So at Kylie at the Knot, or Kylie Lynn P.
Love it. We'll drop
Yeah.
that in the comments after today. And Kylie, I appreciate you taking the time out
Yeah.
on your vacay with the family. Any
Thank you.
final notes, thoughts, words of inspiration or encouragement for people who may be watching?
Nope. Just keep going. Keep going and invest in yourself.
Love it. Well, Kylie, we'll be in touch soon. I'd love to talk about going more behind the scenes, sharing
Sure.
what's working. We got new funnels we're working on together. You got the
Yes.
concierge that's about to launch.
Yes.
So excited to make a huge impact together here in
Yes.
2024 and beyond.
Yes.
So thank you for
Yes.
taking the
Yes.
time out. We'll
Yes.
be in.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.